I think we're ready to start. Thank you all for being here. I am Rachel Buckman. I am the Senior Education Associate at Safaria, and today with me is Lauren Berman, who is our Outreach and Engagement Associate. Lauren is going to be helping field all of the questions. I'm actually not going to see them as you write them in the chat. As we go along, though, please write any questions that you have in the chat, and we will stop along the way to ask those questions. And since Lauren knows where we're going, your question might not be answered right away because he might know that we're going to cover it in a little bit. But at the end, I'm also happy to stay on after for any unanswered questions. So what we're going to be covering today in our Safaria Sheets webinar is everything about sheets, how to create them, how to format them, and how to share them. This is not a general webinar about the Safaria library. We gave that on Monday, and we do have recordings of that. And on next Monday at the same time at 8 o'clock Eastern time, we are going to be doing like part 2 of which we call Safaria Deep Dive. That webinar is Monday, June 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and Lauren is going to put in the chat. He'll put the link to the form to sign up for that. So we're going to try to keep the questions today to things about sheets. I invite you to play along as I'm doing it, or to watch it again on the recording. As I said, we record all of our webinars, and everybody who is registered will receive this sheet, which we will have added the recording of the webinar. And I think especially for the Sheets webinar, that's very helpful because you could watch it again, but stop and start so that you could stop and just do all the things that I'm going to be showing you. So again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And if you have questions when you're working on a sheet at home, you can look it up in the Help Center. And if you see on this sheet, or you can refer to this sheet, which gives you many of the instructions. And on the bottom, we have 2 help sheets specifically for making sheets. One is how to make a source sheet, and one is how to format a source sheet. So those are places. And then the other place is you always write to us at hello@safaria.org. Most likely I will be answering that email, and I'm happy to explain anything again. So with all of my introductions done, it is time to start our webinar with the question of what's a source sheet. So even though we call them source sheets or sheets, they're really something completely different from any piece of paper you've ever encountered. A Safaria sheet is a user-created web page which can include sources from the Safaria library, outside texts, media, and comments. Sheets are connected to the Safaria library, which I'll show you how that works, and if listed, are searchable. So they default to not being listed, to being private, but if you list them or public, people who are in the Safaria library are able to find them and learn from them. Sheets can be shared both in the way of listing them and making them public in the library, or you can share them with your own group by just sending the URL to them, which I will show you. Sheets can always be edited and adapted, which is one of my favorite features of a sheet, because oftentimes I make something and either I teach with it or I'm reading something new and I find something new that I'd like to add to it. You can always edit them, you can always adapt them, as opposed to, if you do something that you've printed it out and now it's kind of stuck. Sheets are a great way to collect your ideas, to teach others, and to contribute to the Safaria library. Currently, over 260,000 sheets have been created on the site, and more than 10% are listed. We encourage people to list them so that you can share them with others. And over 28,000 Safaria users have created sheets. So after all of this hype, I want to show you some really different types of sheets that you can make, and then I will show you how to actually make them. So I want to start with a rather basic but wonderful sheet. This is about Elul. And first of all, you can see that the author of the sheet shows up so people know who you are. It's linked to you. So if you've written in your profile a little bit about yourself, people can know a little bit about who you are. And this person has his photo in his profile. If you If you might just have your initials there. So he wrote an introduction about his topic, and then he added several texts. These are all Tanakh texts from the Bible, and then he ended with a background idea and some discussion ideas. And this is a sheet. One of the things when a person makes a sheet, like this sheet, all the texts are in English. The reader gets to decide also what language they want the text to be. The A Aleph button in the top right is where you can make these choices. So for instance, on, wait 1 second, I have to just move something away. Um, on this one, let's say I would like to have the Hebrew and the English. So now I've clicked it and all of a sudden the Hebrew appears and I see that he actually highlighted some things. So that's very helpful. So it's all in the reader's control of what language they want to read them if we have the English in our library. It's not translating, it's just showing you the English. So that's a very simple sheet with some comments, some text. Um, the next sheet that I want to show you, um, oops, sorry. The next sheet that I'd like to show you is a little bit more complicated, a little more developed. And this we like to call a narrative sheet because with this sheet, a reader could really get a whole lesson right from the sheet. It walks you through it. This is by Rabbi David Widship, who writes wonderful sheets and makes them public. And we included this in a collection called Shavuot on Safaria, which I'll talk a little bit about collections later, hopefully. And he starts with a nice introduction about Yizkor. He gives you the questions that they're going to discuss. So you could really be reading this from top to bottom and getting a little lesson on Yizkor. He also added texts that are not in the Safaria library. This is an outside text. I'll show you how to do that. And then he added, now he added from our Siddur, he added the text of Yizkor, and he goes on, and this is a very nicely developed sheet. The next one I want to show you is one done by Michelle Cohen-Farber, and also part of a collection from Hadran. And it's a Talmud shiur, a Talmud lesson. And this one, when I wanted to show it to you, it includes an audio clip. So a person could, if I clicked on this, I would stay within the sheet. I could hear Rabbi Farber giving the shiur, and then I can follow because the text is given to me. I can also follow the text. And that is something very, very simple to do, which you can do either with your own audio clip or one that you would find on the internet. The next one I want to show you is with an image. This one was done by Sarah Wolkenfeld, our Chief Learning Officer, and she did it in cooperation with a wonderful photographer, Tzion Ozeri. And this is one of his photographs, which I particularly love for teaching about the 4 children. And in this sheet, they actually use the picture is not just a decoration, it's a teaching device. And it's included here, you notice it has the license. It has, it's copywritten by Tzion, but he gave permission. It's appropriate to put underneath any images you use to make sure that they are permissible to be used publicly, and also the license underneath it. And then we have the text from the Haggadah, and we have some discussion questions which refer to the photograph. Adding photos is very easy. I'm going to show you how to do that. And the last one that I want to show you as just an example of a sheet is what we call a collaborative sheet. This has to do with how the privacy settings are set, which I will show you about that. And in this sheet, this one, I believe, this was from the Safaria Education Account. I believe Lauren made this sheet. And he invited people to add to it. And so he gave suggestions of how you might go about doing it. And he put some texts and some images and some comments on and invited others to add. And you can see that Sarah added, and if I were to scroll down more, but I will not make you that dizzy, I added some. And what's nice about these is it shows you who added it. So if you were perhaps studying together with a group of people and you wanted to work on the sheet together and you want to see who added it, that's also something very easy to do. So these are all different examples of sheets. And I mentioned that if they're listed, if someone makes them public and lists them, then they become part of our Safaria library. And I want to show you how that works. So if I go to the Safaria library, and I'm going to go to the the four children, the Magid section of the Haggadah, which is right here. If I click on it and open to the side, this is with any text in our library. On the side in the resource panel, you will see sheets. And in parentheses here, it has 103, which means that there are 103 listed public published source sheets that use this text. And so I can click on them. And first, it's going to give me the account that I'm on. So we actually have used this a lot. They are not all public, but they only show up because this is my account. So once I go past that, now I have the public sheets. And if I were to scroll down, although I did this before and it's quite far down, I would find that sheet by Tzion Ozeri with the beautiful picture of the four children. But here I can see, what did other people do with the text? And this is where they will find your sheets. So if you made your sheet public and you had some texts on it, every text that you put on it your sheet would show up in the sheets section. The other place that you can find them is on the topics pages. So I'm going to put in Elul, and the hashtag in front shows that it's a topic page. And I'm going to go to the Elul page. And if you remember, we had a sheet that was about Elul. So first we have sources about Elul, and then we have sheets. And if I click on sheets and I scroll down, then I will find that sheet. There it is, the sheet from Yitzhak Friedman. If I click on it, it will open it. I already have it open, and I have, as you can see, many tabs open. I don't want to open it now, but that's another place. So this has to do with your tags, which I'll show you about later. So these are places that people would, if you want to make it public, and again, it's your choice, which we encourage you to do. If you want to make it public, this is how people would find them. And it is wonderful as a learner too, that if I'm studying a text, I want to see what people did with the text. Maybe I can learn something from somebody else. So, so that is what a sheet is, what a sheet can be, and where you can find a sheet. I'm going to stop for questions, but I do want to say no how-to questions yet, because I haven't shown you anything yet. That will be immediately after this question break. So if anything not having to do with how-tos, I'm going to ask Lauren if we have any questions and try to answer them and move on.
Well, there have been a few questions not using the words how to per se. Do you mean by how to, do you mean, can you export a sheet? Can you print a sheet? Is that what you mean by how to?
So can you print a sheet? Yes. And there are a couple ways to print sheets. And that is a how-to, and I'm going to make sure that it is on my agenda for today is printing, which I believe it is. Yes. So, yes. At the very end, I'm going to show you how to print a sheet, but the answer is yes, you can.
Somebody has a question which, and I know we'll get to the printing, we'll get to formatting. Somebody has a question which might have been covered indirectly last night, but I think it could be a good review for those who are here now, which is when we talked yesterday about searching for texts, but how do I search for a specific sheet? Is there a way to do that?
So if you know the name of the sheet, I believe that you could put it in the search bar, but that's not such a thing. Most people don't know the name of a particular sheet. So the two ways that I showed by going from a text to a sheet or going from a topic to a sheet, but I did not mention how you find your own sheets. So you find your own sheets by clicking on the profile button, which is if you're in the English website, is in the top right. So this is our Safaria education account, which has a little Safaria logo. And if I click on profile, now some of you who have used Safaria a lot will notice that this has changed. I'm still getting used to it myself. It used to take you directly to the profile. Now I think this is much better. You have one more click to get to the profile, but you can also go to your account settings. You can switch from the English to the Hebrew website and the Help Center, which has all kinds of sheets that help you. So I'm going to click to profile. And now I'm on my profile page for our education account, and it lists all of our sheets, and we have tons of them. Some of them are published, some of them are not published. I can search for my own sheet by my tags or the name of the sheet. Like I use a lot, I have like a test sheet when I try things out. So I would put in the search bar, I know it's called Rachel's test sheet. So there it is. I could also put a tag if I want to see um, all of our Rosh Hashanah ones. I just, if I've tagged them, I start writing Rosh Hashanah and I see all of my sheets that have to do with Rosh Hashanah. So those are basically the places that you find a sheet. Shall we make a sheet?
Yeah, I would say let's make a sheet.
I say let's make a sheet.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to note a couple things is that um, Safaria is we're always working on something new. We are working on a new Sheets editor. We are beginning to have our super sheet users test the new editor. If you would like to also join the testing list, you should send an email to hello@safaria.org with your name and, well, your email address will be there, but tell me why you're writing. I have no guarantees that you'll be asked to be a tester, but we're also going to be adding more people as the process goes along at different stages. So if you don't get asked to be a tester now, you could be later on. So if you're interested in that, you can just send an email to hello. So really important thing about Sheets before I actually do it is you must have a Safari account and you must be logged into your account to make a sheet. So if you don't already have an account, then when you get to this page, it will have something on the top which will say create an account. So just click on that and go through the directions, and you must be logged in. The second really important thing is you must be on the website. So you can read sheets on the app, but you cannot create or edit sheets on the app. So that means on your cell phone app, your iPad app, you cannot, but you can on the website. So if you're on your phone or if you're on your tablet, you can go to www.safaria.org and then you're in the website and you can make a sheet. So that's an important thing to know. When you've made an account, also, there are many other things that you can do, but we have a help sheet that tells you about all the things. So two ways to start a sheet. I'm going to start with the idea that you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. You might find a sheet, let's say this Elul sheet that I showed you before, and I might say to myself, I really like this sheet. It's not perfect for me, for what I'm using, but I want to start with that. So what you can do is you just have to keep moving things out of the way. Um, so if I click on the name of the sheet from the header, not down here with the title, but up in the header, if I click on that, it says copy. I can do this to anybody's sheet. I'm copying Yitzhak Friedman's sheet. I'm copying it, and it says it's copied, and it says view copy. And now I click on that, and now it's mine. It says it's by Safaria Education. And I need to get into, we have two modes. We have library view and edit mode. This is in library view. You can see I can't edit or do anything here. But if I click again on that header, I can go to edit mode. And now I can do whatever I want. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing with that. Oh, well, I'll show it to you here. It says that it's based on a sheet by Yitzhak Friedman. So Yitzhak is going to get credit from me that I didn't make this, I didn't make it from scratch. I started with his sheet. Now, for instance, I want to, I can get rid of, I'm going to show you how to do all this later. I can get rid of things I don't want to. I can add, I can take off, I can do whatever I want to the sheet. But that is one way to start a new sheet, is to copy somebody else's. But let's say I do want to make a new sheet. If I want to make a new sheet, then I'm certainly welcome to do that. And the easiest way to do that is to click on my profile, open my profile sheet or my profile page. Here I am. And I click on create a new sheet, and there it is. And boom, I have a new sheet. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to rename it. So I can double click. Once I have that blue box around it, it's now in edit mode. Double click on it, and I'm going to name it, and I'm going to name it June Sheet Webinar. And I don't have to think too hard about what I'm going to name it because everything can be edited just the same way as this. I can now I made my sheet and I decide I want a different name. I just click on it, edit it. But the most important thing, and I only have to do this once, is I'm going to click save. One time only. Once it's saved, it's there. And it will, every time I do something, it will automatically save. So I'm opening from my profile page, creating a new sheet, I'm renaming it and pressing save. You know that it's saved if it says view in library. Okay, so that's really, really important. So I have, as I mentioned, the two views. I can go back and forth. So I'm in edit right now, and this is going to allow me to add things. After I've added it, I might want to see what it looks like in the library. I can click library view. I can go back and forth between the two. I'm sure I'll be doing that a little bit. There's some formatting that will appear in the edit mode, but not appear in the library view. And so it's good to be aware of those because if you are going to be using it in the library view, then you don't want to waste your time with things that aren't going to show up. So let's add to the sheet. We now have a sheet and now we need some text on it. So as you can see, there are 4 different boxes: source, text, media, comment. We're going to talk about all of them and actually even a 5th. So the first thing we want to do is I want to add a source from the Safaria library. And there are 3 different ways. I'm going to do all 3. I'm going to do the same text 3 different ways. So I am going to add a verse from this week's Parsha from Balak. And here we have a bar here, a search bar. And I happen to know what the verse is because I practiced this before. And I'm going to write, I could type in Hebrew or in English. I'm going to write Numbers 24:5. And it shows me the verse that I'm going to be adding. If that looks good to me, I click add source, and there it is, right there. No cutting, no pasting. It has the verse number. It has everything that I want. Let's find doing it another way. So now I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it through, I also have the option to browse sources. I have to say, personally, this is not my favorite way to add. You'll figure it out for yourself what you like the best. I can also add this way by choosing Tanakh, Torah, Numbers. What did I say? Chapter 24. Where'd it go? Oh, come on. This is part of the reason. 24. There it is. And then I'm going to go and find, I wanted verse 5. And so I click on it, and now I can see Numbers 24:5. Yes, that's what I want. I could drag and select a larger, I don't have to do it one verse at a time. Also, the other, I could have written Numbers 24:5 through 17. And I could also do it by selecting that way, and I click OK, and now here it is. I have a third way. This happens to be my personal favorite way of adding, and that is from the library. So if I'm in the library, I'm going to go to Numbers. Look at, there it is. I go to 24:5. I click on it, and on the side, this is new. If you've done this before, this is a little bit new. Under Tools, we have Add to Sheet. I click on it, and then it shows me, this is important. It shows me what sheet I'm adding it to. And actually, I don't want it added to this sheet. This is a sheet that's different. And interesting that it's not on here. I think I needed to refresh this because here, I can do that. I'm gonna not add right now. I'm gonna refresh the page because the last time I opened this page, I hadn't saved the sheet yet. Okay, now we're gonna do it. It's still selected. I'm going to go to add to sheet. And now there it is. But also, if it's the wrong sheet, you drop down, you have all of your sheets here. I'm going to add it to the June webinar sheet. Click add to sheet. It says it's been added. I can either go to it here where it will open for me, or I like to always work with 2 tabs open. I can put it here and refresh. And now there's my third one. So you can see I have 3 numbers 24/5, each added in a different way. Um, Next thing I can add, you notice now that there are 5 choices. There's source and there's also connection. If I add something from the Safaria library, I also can easily add any connections that are in the library. If you know how Safaria works, the, the, the texts are linked. So if I click on connections, it's now looking up every commentary, every text that's connected to Numbers 24/5. So let's say I would like to add Rashi. It also tells you in parentheses how many comments each of these have. So I'm going to add Rashi. It's all or nothing on this. So here is Rashi. He has 3 comments. If I choose that, I click on it, and I could choose more than one. I could put Rashi. I want to put Midrash Tehillim. I want to put whatever. I can click on as many as I want, but I'm going to put those 3 Rashis, but I cannot choose one Rashi, but I can put them all on, add to sheet, and there they are. But I can take them off just as easily as I can put them on. And I will jump ahead just to show you how you take them off. When I hover, I have this side menu, this hover menu, which copies a source, and it also removes a source. The circle with the line removes it. So let's say I didn't want this one. I click it, it's gone. I can click it, it's gone. And I just want this one. So you'll see if that's the way you like to do it. Another thing that I can add, and I know I'm going quickly, which is why I recommend if you want to do this along with me, you could, turn down the volume if my voice is getting annoying or something, but you can watch what I'm doing. You could stop it and then you do it on your own sheet and do it along with me. And I think that way, this way is very hard to actually then be able to just go do it. And I understand that. So if you have questions, we have the sheet that we just sent out to you. We're going to send it to you again. We have the help sheets, and we always have hello@safaria.org where I can help you. Okay, the next one is the text button. This is for outside text. This is for, let's say, there's something on the web that I want to put in, or there's something, there's a book that I want to put a couple sentences. So the first thing I want to do is decide, is it going to be all English? Is it going to be bilingual? Is it going to be a Hebrew text? So right now I'm going to add an English one. And so I click that, and I already found my text. So because we were doing, the verse I put in was the Matovu prayer about how goodly are your tents. So that's going to be the theme of this sheet. And I previously found a very nice article. Actually, it was connected in the web pages for those of you who know about that, from My Jewish Learning. And so I'm going to select it. I'm just copying it. And then I'm going to go back to my sheet. I'm going to go back to my sheet. And now I want to get rid of that English. I'm going to double click to get rid of that. And now I'm going to paste. And then, very important, I'm going to click add to sheet. And now, and it would be good if I were really doing this to give them credit and to say that it came from My Jewish Learning, but I'm not making the sheet public. So I'm not going to be doing everything properly that way. So now I have this other text that's not a Safaria text, but it's there on my sheet. So that is how I can add an outside text. Another thing I can add is media. So let's say I would like to add a song of Matovu. So this actually, this is, I found on YouTube somebody singing Matovu, a very nice melody, and I want to put that on my sheet. So I copy the URL, which is right there on the top, and in media, I click and I paste. This is the URL from the YouTube and I add to sheet. It is as simple as that. And what's nice about it, it plays right within the sheet. So people might want to look at, um, they might want to look at the text while they listen to the song. If you are making a sheet where you want to demonstrate something, perhaps you want to, you're doing a Sukkot sheet and you want to do a video of yourself doing a lulav and an etrog, you can, how to shake the lulav, you could do that. If you wanted to, maybe you're a teacher and you're giving a shiur, you could put that on there. Anything that could be on a YouTube video, you can add to your sheet. The next thing that I want to add is an image. We saw those beautiful pictures. Well, you can take your own photographs. You can get something off of the internet. You want to be careful about making sure it's something in the public domain. This one is, it was the closest I could get to something with tense, not exactly what I would want if I were making this sheet. I copy the URL. It's a JPEG link. So I copy that. I put it right into this box. I click add to sheet, and now it's on my sheet. I really should add the license, the permission underneath. I would do that in a comment, which I'll show you next. And the last one I want to show you is the SoundCloud video. So on the 929 project that allows 929 project, this is on their Hebrew site. They have every chapter of the Bible read. And on the English site, they have it read in English, and this one's read in Hebrew. So I can take a SoundCloud. This is the chapter that, that Matovu is in. I double click on it to select it. I copy it. This is all the same as we've done for everything, regardless of what type of media. I put it there and I add to sheet. And there it is. It will play right in there. Also, what I didn't do is you can also upload an image, and that would be from your computer. I could do that. I'm not going to put it on, but I have a lot of pictures and things. I could put, I make the GIFs that show. Okay, that wasn't the right one. Okay, but I can upload from my computer. So if I have an image or I have, I can put them up that way. So we've now done source. We did connection. We did text. We did all kinds of media. Our last, and this is a real hardworking one, we use this a lot, is the comment one. This is where people write introductions or explain things or ask questions or any of that. So all you do on this one is you get a text box and you write, this is where I would write my comment. And then you have to click add to sheet. And there it is. One other thing that I want to show you that you can do, let's say you want to put an entire parsha, an entire Torah portion right into the sheet. You can do that with one click and the insert menu. This also gives you those boxes, the source, the parsha, the text, the comment, and the media, it gives you parsha. If I click on parsha, it lists every parsha. I'm not going to do it because it's going to make my sheet really long, but I could find Balak, which is somewhere, here it is, and I would click on it and the whole parsha would be put into, the whole section from the Torah for that Torah reading would be put in with one click. I just threw an enormous amount of information at you, and I'm aware of that, so I appreciate your patience. I will take questions. I know it went fast.
Wow. I should just say I've been making source sheets now for, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years myself, and I never knew that you could insert a whole parsha in there. So
Yes.
we're learning something new every day.
Good to know. Yes.
We had a lot of great questions. I believe I answered everybody's privately. If you have follow-up questions, please feel free to message.
Yeah, but are there any that might have been, I mean,
Yes.
I like to do them publicly if I can, so that other people might have had those questions as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna focus on two,
Good.
I think, which are particularly relevant. One is about, can you talk, Rachel, about copyright issues that could come up, or ways that we could avoid copyright issues, or what we should when we have questions. That was one. And another was if you could explore a little bit under comments, the different types of, fonts. Someone asked about highlighting. We
Okay, so I'm
saw
going to
that.
do formatting in the next section. So that would be a formatting question, and I will get to that. I'll show you how to edit everything. So, but the copyright question, so you can use any of our texts in our library. And I believe, and I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that if you're putting a very small piece of text in from something else, that's okay. You should be very careful with images. And I really can't go right now into the proper way to look for. I mean, if you're looking in on Google under images, you go to tools, and one of the tools is what's it called? Uh, Something where it tells you you can search according to license like Creative Commons, and then you look for something that's in the public domain, and then there's also a proper way of citing them. If you need a little more instruction, I would encourage you to look on the internet. All that information is there. Creative Commons is the organization that has standardized this. They have a web page. If you really are at a loss, you can write to me at
Right.
hello@safaria.org, and I will explain as much as I can. The YouTube videos, there's no problem putting them on your sheet for this type of thing. And everybody who makes a sheet, the sheet that you make, if you make it public, is with a public domain license. So you can copy anybody's sheet. They can also copy yours. But as I said, your name will still stay on it. You will get some credit under, in the metadata. So, so I think that should answer the copyright.
Yeah.
If there's anything more complex than that, I'd rather take it in an email.
Yeah, one more question, Rachel. I'm not sure if you're going to get to this maybe in the next part, but let's say I put a comment, or I put a media, or put a text, and I want to move it up and down. I want to
Yes,
move it
that's the
around.
next, that's formatting.
That's great.
We're going to
So
do that. Let's do it. Okay. So now we're going to now we put stuff up there, and I would say just get it up there because you're going to see how easy it is to move it around and to edit it. So don't worry, it's not your final thing. So um, some of the formatting, as I mentioned, some of the formatting options don't appear in library book, so library view. So I'm going to concentrate on the ones that do. Although if you want to keep your sheet in edit mode, which is what you can do if you're printing it out, then you can do even more. One of the things you can do, this is very helpful for people who do not want to, oh, I didn't put a text that has God's name in it. But if you want to choose how um, God's name appears in the Hebrew, then you can click one of these. It'll do it for the whole sheet. I'm sorry, I don't think that I have. I usually try to put God's name on here. Okay, so let's just add another source. We know that Genesis 1:1 has God's name. So here you can see it's going to show like this. It's going to default with the spelling. But if you're printing, you might want to be changing it. So I can choose how I want it. Let's say I'd like it like this, and it will change it. So it changed it to Elohim. And it will change the whole sheet. And now that the sheet is set for that, if I add any other on this sheet, if I add any other verse that has God's name, that's the way it will add it. So that's one thing. Another thing that you can set, this would be if you're printing it out. If you are in library mode, then the reader gets to decide. It doesn't even matter what you want, and that's the sheet layout. But let's say you notice here it's side by side, the Hebrew and the English. I get a choice I can do it as a whole sheet or as an individual text. I could choose if I want Hebrew, if I want English bilingual, and how I want the sheet layout. So right now it's side by side. You can see that it's checked side by side. I could do it stacked, which means that you have the Hebrew and then the English underneath. Again, if I'm in library view, which I'll go into, it doesn't matter how I put it. The user, the reader, can choose how they want it to be viewed. So it doesn't matter. Also, if let's say the viewer would like it just in English, they can choose that. But the edit mode is for mostly if you're going to be printing it out. So I'm going to go back to edit. And now they're stacked, but I can choose that here. Um, if I want to edit an actual source, so I can edit the Hebrew, the English here. Let's say since I put in short verses, but let's say here's a long text. Let's say I don't want to include the whole text. So I click on the text itself and you notice the light blue box around it. That means it's in edit mode. And you'll notice up on the top that we have all of the editing tools. It's not exactly the editing tools that Google has. We have a few less, but all of your basics. You can do something in bold, italics, underline, strike out. You can center it however you want. You can put, this is for your comments, you can put bullets and number, you can change the color, you can highlight. So let's say on this Hebrew text, on this, I would like to highlight something in blue. And actually, this is not the way to do it. I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to highlight it in blue. And now it's highlighted. I can also, let's say I would like to remove something. This is maybe too long for me. I can click on it and I can remove it. Now, and I can then, it does not, the Hebrew and the English are separate texts. So it's not gonna say, oh, you highlighted this, so now I'm gonna highlight the translation. No, I have to do those separately. I would do that and I could take it off. But here's a very, very fun feature of this. Let's say I do that and I regret it terribly. I should not have taken that out. And now I'm really sorry. If it's a text from the Safaria library, not if you typed in your own thing because we wouldn't know, but if it is, you can go to format in the format menu, reset source text. This will take it back to how it is in our library. And I have a choice. I want to reset the Hebrew, the English, or both. In this case, I just did the Hebrew. So I'm going to reset the Hebrew, and there it is. Everything is gone. So again, you really can't make a mistake because you can always go back. So that's a really important thing. I can, again, I can do anything. I want to do something in bold. I want to do something in italics. I can do all of this. And then I click out of it and there it is. I can change words. Perhaps this is something that if you're a 5th grade uh, Torah teacher and you're reading also in this parsha, if you're reading about Bilam, our English translation will talk about his ass, which does not go over well in 5th grade or goes over too well. If the teacher does not want to do that and would rather use the word donkey, you could go through and you would change it all to donkey. You are able to do all of that. You can reset the text. Another important thing that you can do, and this is only above texts that are ours. And also I want to point out, every time I click on a certain source, you know it's selected if it has this navy vertical line. That means I'm working on this text. If I want to work on this text, now I have the navy vertical line. Let's say I want to put a source, a title. I'm going to have a text, and then I'm going to have maybe this whole section is about, I want to say this is Matovu. So I can go to add source title, and I get this little box, and I could say Matovu and click out of it. This only works if it's something from our library. I'll show you how nice this looks, though. And there it is. There's my title, which actually looks quite nice. Let's see. I did say that you can choose how the texts are displayed. You could do it into, oh, you'll get this after you've gone back and forth for a while. It will prompt you to make it public. I'm not ready yet. I'm going to click. I'm never ready when it gives me the prompt because I have a lot of work to do. So I can get rid of that, but then do that later. I'm going to move a little quicker. Oh, I already showed you the hover menu. Could copy the text. I can remove it. But here are others. I can indent it. I can outdent it. And this is where you can move them up and down. Here, I'll do something that's not the same text. Let's say I want to move this verse down. I just click the down arrow and now it went down. I want to move this Genesis verse up. I click the up arrow and now it went up. And I want it up some more. And that is how. I can also drag them, but I find personally that I'm not as adept at doing that. I find the arrows work the best. I'm going to stop. I do have a good 15 minutes more of sharing, printing, all those things. So if we can take some questions, I'd like to make sure I get the body of it in. I'm happy to stay on longer.
I would say, Rachel, if you want to go into the printing, that would be
Okay,
great.
so I'm going to keep going. Okay, so the next part is how do I share it? I've been talking about sharing your sheet. So you can click share. And here you have a lot of things that you can do. This is an important thing to do. A lot of people don't, but I think that certainly if you're making it public, if you're listing it, I think that it's very nice to put a summary so that people know what it is. So I could write, this is a sheet about the prayer Ma Tovu. So somebody would see that. I also can tag it. The tags are also giving information to people. They also help get your sheet onto the topic pages. And they also are good for your own categorizing. So as you saw in our education account, we have hundreds of sheets. But since we have tagged them, when we make a Rosh Hashanah sheet, we tag it Rosh Hashanah, I can use that search bar that I showed you, and it will automatically give me all of the Rosh Hashanah sheets. If you're a teacher, you could tag maybe by your class. These are the sheets for this course I'm teaching. There are all kinds of ways that you can tag your sheets. Here, I might want to tag it Bilam because he's the person who said it. So I could put it Bilam. They'll give you some suggestions. I don't have to take their suggestions. I could write Bilam like that. Or let's say I started as I did and I thought, oh, you know what? This really was part of Bilam's prophecy. I'll click that one. I might want to put tense, whatever it is I want to put. I put those tags. If I change my mind and I say, you know, tense isn't so helpful, I can X out of it. Again, everything, there's nothing that you can't change. Here is where I decide if I want to list it. So when I'm ready with the sheet, I click on it. And now if I press save, it will be listed. So all of these texts, if anyone were to go to that verse of Matovu, they would find my sheet. Obviously, I'm not going to list this sheet since it's just it's not ready for prime time. Also, if I don't list, I also could just share it with somebody. So let's say I made a sheet for just my class or for my group of people, and I want to share it. Maybe I'm a rabbi and I want to share it in my synagogue online bulletin. I can just copy the URL and hyperlink it or WhatsApp it to somebody or text it to somebody or put it in an email. I want to say, this is my wonderful sheet that I made. You might be interested. All I have to do is give them the URL. So even if it's not listed, you can still share it. And the last thing on this menu is anyone with access can view. This is how it defaults. That means that anybody who opens your sheet can only look at it. They can't add to it. They can't take anything off. And most sheets are this way. And as I said, it defaults to that and it defaults to not being listed. So if you want to list, you have to actively choose that. And if you want anyone to be able to do anything else with your sheet, you actively choose that. The choices are anyone can add, and that was that sheet that I showed you that Lauren had made and we had added. The people who add have to be logged in. So, and it goes with their name. So I might make a sheet. I might say, you know, this is for my book group. We're going to be discussing this. And here are some questions, and you want to add a comment, you might want to add a video, you might want to add a text. You can add whatever you like. If I set it to anyone can add, and it will add with your name, so I know who added. Um, Anyone can edit means that they can do anything to the sheet and without their name. So this is like perhaps sometimes, um, let's say I'm making a sheet and I want Lauren to look at it and edit it with me or correct my mistakes. So I could set it to anyone can edit. I wouldn't make that public probably. I would send him the link and I would say, could you look at my sheet and you edit it? I don't need to see, I don't want anyone to see all the all the corrections that he made on my sheet. So that would be anyone can edit. I would say that that's probably the least used. After we select all of these things, we click save. And now all of that information is here. Um, so yeah, so that is, those are all really good things to help people find your sheet and to help yourself to stay organized. Printing. There are two ways that you can print a sheet. Very simply, you can go to the file menu and click print. And when I click print, I have my options of what uh, I can have it go to my printer. I can have it go to save it as a PDF. I can see it. I can do just the regular printing things. So that is one way to print it. Some people don't like to do it that way because sometimes when you print that way, it takes more space on the page. So that we have another way. We had, I think, a high school student who did this for us. He created this. It's export to Google Drive. So what happens here is I click on it and I've synced it. You just sync it once. It's synced with my Google Drive, my Google Docs, my Google account. So now I'm going to open in Google Drive, and now it's turned it into a Google Doc. And what's good about that is, Google has tens of thousands of engineers. Safaria, you wouldn't believe what Lauren and I are not engineers, so we can toot their horn, but you would not believe what a handful of engineers do. And it's incredible. But our editing tools are not as robust as Google. So you might want to do that. Here is where like you don't change the font. Here you can change the font. Now it's a Google Doc. You can do whatever you want. I do have to say though that once you export it to Google, you cannot import it back. So don't export until you're done. And all of your edits are not going to affect your sheet that you made on Safaria. So, but it's certainly something that you can do, and you can take care of those spaces if you want to, fit more on a page. Um, there are many, many things that you can do if you are on a Google Doc. But then you lose your online features that you have when you're in the sheet itself. One of the nice things in the sheet, you're always hooked up to the library. So if I click on this, I can see the text in full. And you certainly lose that on a Google Doc, but you do gain other things. So this is personal preference. Sharing a sheet, I think I showed you that. You send the URL, you can embed it, you can hyperlink it, anything. Another thing, copying a sheet. So we did that already when we started one, but deleting a sheet is important. So again, I have to be in, well, that's not my sheet. Okay, I am in edit mode. And if I go to file, I can copy the sheet if I want. As I said, export to Google. You can embed the sheet. This will give you the embed code. And I can delete a sheet. So when I'm done with this sheet, I can click on that. It will always ask you if you want to, and it will point out that there's no way to undo it. So once you have deleted it, it's deleted. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I do that. In fact, I will probably delete this after we're done. You can print, and then there are a few other goodies down there. But that is the basic sheets. How to make a sheet. Again, we have in the Help Center, which I do want to point out. In the Help Center, we have all kinds of pages that we have. These are all Safaria sheets that we have made with images and GIFs to see how you can do all of these things. We have one that is called Making a Source Sheet. This gives you the first half of our webinar. And we have one called Formatting Sheets, and this gives you the second half of our webinar. These are very, very helpful. I also, before I take the last questions, and I know I went all the way to the end, I'm happy to stay on for more questions. I do want to remind you that Safaria is a not-for-profit organization. We welcome donations. There is a link on the sheet that we made for you tonight if you're interested. And if you have any questions as you're working, I do want to say, I can't say this enough, that I do not expect people to have gotten it right from that. So when you're sitting in front of the computer and you say, "Ugh, I know she said that, but I don't remember," just send me an email. Do not worry. I will be so proud of you for having tried. And I certainly do not assume that anyone will remember this. So use our help things and please drop us a line. And I will stay for questions. But we're going to still do the chat, I think, because there's still a big group. So if you could put it in the chat and let's have Lauren moderate the questions.
Yeah, just as more questions come in, just two questions. One which I think answer for you if it's easier.
Thank you. Thank
Somebody
you.
had asked, can you unlist a sheet? You talked about deleting a sheet the same way that you would create a sheet, and you would click share, and then you would click view or versus edit versus comment. You would just change it from edit or comment. Excuse me, where you click share, as you'll show us. There's a little toggle button, the way you would publish something, where it says you want to be viewed publicly. You can click yes, you can click no. You would just go to share and then click no, list on Safaria, yes or no. So you would just go,
Whoops.
there you go.
Yeah, I just clicked something. Something's going to happen. I just clicked without it jumped in.
Another question, and my gut says the answer is no, is do you get notified if your sheet is something that is editable, or, well, all sheets are copyable? Do you ever get notified if somebody does either edit your sheet, comment on your sheet, or copy your sheet?
You do not get notified, but people can. There is a way that somebody can message you. In fact, I once had a sheet. Well, I'm sure more than once had a sheet with a mistake, but I once had somebody who pointed it out to me, which was very nice. And they did it through the sheet itself. If you're on, let's go to somebody else's sheet. If I'm on their sheet, oh no, that's still mine. Okay. So I could, let's say I wouldn't find a mistake here because I wouldn't, but I could click on the person who made the sheet and then I could message the person. And I did receive once I had made a mistake and the person pointed it out to me. I was very grateful. So people could do that. And then people can also follow you. If they follow you, they get a notification every time that you publish a new sheet. And in fact, the notifications are up here on the top right. And I did notice that that's what these are. I follow Yeshivat Maharat, and they published this sheet and this sheet and this sheet and this sheet and this sheet. And I get a notification when they publish a new source sheet. So somebody could follow you if, and that would only be things that you publish, but no, you don't know if somebody copied your sheet or not. I look at it as, I mean, certainly the highest form of flattery. If somebody looks at my sheet and says, wow, that's something worth working off of, I certainly don't assume that other people have the same needs or the same audience or the same viewpoint as me, but they might think that I pulled out some great sources that they want to work with. And instead of finding them themselves, they want to copy my sheet. If I were to see a sheet that someone copied of mine and did something with it, that would make my day.
Great.
Other
Thank you,
questions?
Rachel. Some more coming in just as I'm reviewing some of the questions. Somebody could ask, can you, just for review, in the search bar, the different icons that might come up?
Oh, absolutely. So let's try, we did, no, I don't want to do that. Let me put in, okay, I'm going to put in Rosh Hashanah. So this has several icons. So if there's an icon of a book, that means that's the name of a book. And if I click on it, I will go to the title page, to the table of contents of that book. Because I just wrote Rosh, so that is an author. the Roche. So the little quill is an author page, which nowadays is a topic page, but it's about an author. And then the hashtag is the author, is the topic page, which gives you sources and sheets related to that topic. And I'm going to put in Lauren Berman, and oh, both Laurens are friends of mine. So these are people who have created public source sheets. Your name will not come up if you have not made a public source sheet. But if I click on Lauren Berman, I'm going to go to his profile page where he is going to have a very long list of sheets because he makes lots of wonderful sheets. So I could look him up and I could say, I would like to see what, oh, and he has a picture. This is a perfect profile page. He put all of his, mine is not as well done. He has where he's learned. You can follow him, you can message him, and then, oh, look at this is beautiful. You have, he tags his sheets. And you can also see, you can see how many people have viewed your sheets. This is very fun. He has 1,500 people have viewed this particular sheet. Some of them, the ones probably that are not as well viewed, might not be public. When you open, every time you open your own sheet and you switch, that's going to count as a view. But you know, he's in the hundreds here of people who are 1,800 of people who are viewing his sheets. So so that's what those, all those icons are. I could take another question. No?
I would say we might, maybe we open it up to the floor. Do folks want to ask some more
Sure.
questions here?
Sure, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask, that would be fine. Or we answered them all. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
Rachel, when you were just showing the icons that indicate whether it's a book, whether it's the author, and I noticed there was a little symbol over at the right. After you click the search bar, it looked like a keyboard.
Oh, yes.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yes, that is. So you can search in Hebrew or in English. And if you have Hebrew on your keyboard, which I do, so I could switch and type, but if you don't have it, you can click on, this is our little keyboard icon. You click on it and now I have a Hebrew keyboard. So if I wanted to search in Hebrew, I could hunt and peck over here.
Thank you very much.
You're
and
welcome.
do you, is there, I mean, like, I might forget, you know, what each one of those means, and it wasn't clear after you clicked on like the number symbol, you know, do you, is there a source where that legend is that indicates what the hashtag or what the number symbol means actually? Is there a legend?
Yeah, I'm just thinking because I actually made the help pages. So I'm trying to think if that's on one of the help pages. I do know that there is a help page that's about the topic pages, and that one will show you what all of the things are there. And I'm wondering if that one
under tools, like
that is wait, my computer is going crazy. Okay, it's the end of a long day. Okay, if I click on my profile page, there it says help, and that takes me to the help center. And all of these help pages are here, and there is one that's about topic pages, the topics tutorial. I click on that one, and it's going to tell me. Let's see. It tells me about. It shows me all the parts of the topics page. I'm trying to think, somewhere I do think that I wrote that. But you know what? Write me an email. I'm happy to write it out.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Okay. I think we've got it. Thank you so much
thank you very much
for spending your evening or whatever time of the day with us. And really, please send questions when you have them. We'd love to see your sheets on the Safaria website so other people can learn from you, and hope you enjoy creating.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I had some friends that I forwarded the email to who didn't find the time zone convenient, partly because, well, for different reasons, they weren't in this country.
Yeah.
So are you planning, I know you can get the recordings so anybody could watch them, but of course, there's always advantages to having a live lesson.
Yeah.
Are you planning to provide any Safaria classes that would be, I'm going to say international, but I'm mainly more
Yes.
concerned about the time zone issue.
Yes, so we actually do try to vary it, and usually every quarter, every 3 months, we schedule some. We usually do our Safaria 101, our sheets, and our deep dive. I actually happen to, I live in Israel, but I'm not in Israel right now. So I'm in the United States on the Eastern time zone. So this series, we took that as a really great opportunity since I love doing the webinars. Others could do it just as well as better, but I enjoy it very much.
You're doing great. We love it.
Thank you.
Everybody-
So I lobby for
see the
myself.
couple.
So I said, I'm going to be in America. So let's do some webinars. So that's why they're at 8 o'clock. But oftentimes they're at 1 o'clock on a Sunday or something, because then I'm in Israel. And then 8 o'clock at night works well for me. When I get much later, I start to melt down.
No, but
So we do
Europeans would,
try.
yeah, Israelis and Europeans would benefit from
Right,
using
so
the
we do
Israeli
try.
time zone. Yeah.
Right. We do try to vary them every time we do them, like whichever time zone we don't do, they write and say, couldn't you do some on my time zone? So this time we heard from the Australians, the Europeans, the Israelis. And then when
Okay.
we do them on better times for Israel, we get the others. If your synagogue, though, or a group would like a private one, please write us. We are happy to do that. If we get a group of people, we're happy to do one. And certainly if there are people in Israel or in Europe, that is just not a problem at all for us. If a group of people, your study group, your whatever, would like to have an introduction to Safaria or learn how to make sheets, please be in touch with us at hello@safaria.org. There's somebody, we are an international group, so we can accommodate.
Are these other ones published? Because of course, because I have a West Coast time zone, I only got the ones for this week, the 3 that I'm signed up for. But I mean, just for general awareness, do they distribute all the ones that are offered around the world? Or are they on the
They're
website?
all offered for everybody, but Lauren, maybe you could put in the chat, we have a sheet. We do everything with sheets. We have a sheet called Webinar for Learners, and that's where we post webinars that are upcoming, and we also post recordings of webinars. They're not all how-to ones. We keep up the most recent 101 sheets and deep dive. We do the most recent because Safaria is always making changes. So the older ones, they're also on our YouTube channel, but some of that stuff gets outdated. And we also have some wonderful other programs that we have done that are on that sheet, and they're links to the YouTube videos. Excuse me. So you might enjoy those.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the class. It was good.
Thank you. I'm so glad you all came. Okay. So I think good night. And when you have more questions, just write us. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.